Hello everyone and welcome to Whisky Wednesday. Sorry we missed a week last week, just scheduling conflicts, things got busy. But we're back again with a very important bottle. The Ardbeg. I'm not going to do a pirate accent because it's not that kind of channel. Although we have done funny things in the past, but still. I'm not particularly happy with this, which is why there's no sort of comedic vibe about it. Lower down on the bottle, committee release. Pretty sure their website server just runs on like the power of potatoes because it takes 2 hours to load, it's constantly busy and it never really works when I want it to, especially when these limited editions come out. It's a commemorative bottle for Mickey Head, who is the head of the committee team, amongst many other things at Ardbeg. He is on the front of it here. It's an amazing label, 51.8%. He was there for 13 years. Doesn't mean this whiskey is a 13-year-old, that's an important part. Still technically an NAS whiskey. Natural colour, non-chill filtered, all that good stuff. Fully matured in rye casks. I'll get into that a bit later. £143 a bottle. Now when this email came out and we knew about it, I thought this will be fun, it's to celebrate Mickey. The maximum I've ever spent on an Ardbeg special release was £120. That was for the Supernova, when they mysteriously brought out like a 4th release of it. I don't mind that because it's the heaviest peated thing they've ever done and it tasted incredible. So I was expecting this, and to expect or to assume is the worst thing in the whiskey industry. But I was like, 75, 80 quid, there'll be thousands of bottles of it, it'll go for more online anyway. Took 2 hours to load, got through, £143, and I don't know if that included shipping. And my brain and my heart instantly went, don't spend 143 quid on this whiskey. And I was raging. I was messaging all my other whiskey friends and being like, have you bought this? And they were like, no, it's just too expensive. But thanks to my friend Matt and his friend Luke, he bought one and he split it amongst a group of them. And I managed to get a sample of it and the bottle for the shoot. So we have paid money to review this whiskey. It's not a freebie or anything. It wasn't 143 quid, it was only 10% of that. But nonetheless, here it is with us today. So yeah, all rye cask matured, 51.8%, no colouring or filtering, extremely expensive for what it is, although you do get a very nice label. But regarding the whiskey, when we pull it here from the glass, you see that beautiful light colour, kind of classic Ardbeg colour. We'll smell, taste, score, and then there's a little bit more to talk about at the end, but we'll smell it. It's a very fresh Ardbeg. You get your typical iodine, smoky notes, but it's not really powerful on the smoke. It is quite pulled back, it's quite subtle. There is a bitter sweetness running through it, which is almost reminiscent of things like kiwi and grapefruit, but I get tons of like pickled stuff. So there's like dill pickles, pickled jalapenos. I've just rediscovered like the joy in like kebabs and things, and I just love little pickled jalapenos. Pickled cabbage, it's got this very briny, oily, vinegary thing about it. The Rye Casting Is Unusual. I used to say years ago at tastings to people, you always hear about ex-bourbon casks. You never really hear about ex-rye casks, because at the end of the day, they're both just ex-virgin oak vessels, which the American whiskey distilleries can't really use anymore. So why is it always called ex-bourbon, not ex-rye? Or why isn't it specified? And Glenmorangie did that. They released the Spios a couple of years ago. You remember that video we shot with the piano and the after eights and the whiskey jar? That was good fun. That did smell and taste a lot of rye whiskey. Not enough to warrant putting it on the label, but it was there and it was a nice thing to just to subtly mention. I don't really get any rye from this. Like the official tasting notes mention things like sourdough and stuff like that. I don't really pick up on any of those kind of classic-y rye yeasty notes. There is some nice like smoky vanilla running through it, which is a pleasant thing to smell. It's a joyous thing to smell. But I don't know if the rye casting is that important. Certainly not enough to warrant, you know, talking about it that much. Can't really smell much of that rye. But nonetheless, the casks are really good quality. One thing Ardbeg do is get really good quality casks. Bit of pickled stuff, bittersweet fruit, smoky vanilla. There's something buried in the back, like a kind of marshmallowy kind of artificially sugary sweetness, which I don't mind. It's quite nice. But let's taste it. My opinion has changed on the taste of it. The sample that I was given, I put back into the bottle, and I tried a bit of it maybe 2 days ago, and it came across as quite flat, a little bit dull, especially compared to the nose. While we were setting up for this shoot, I probably poured this about an hour before, and it's just been sat in a glass over there. And it's become much oilier, much thicker, and a lot spicier. Almost like the barrels are just virgin oak rather than like first fill. Loads of big spice tickling around the tongue. It almost leads with like a chocolatey note. This is a weird thing to say, but like malted chocolate. Like imagine like, I don't know, like, it's not malt, but like Rice Krispies and chocolate, that kind of thing. Like a malted type of cereal. Second sip, it comes across as so much more savoury. There's like a bell pepper note, like celery. That kind of, celery is such a weird thing for me because when it smells like a smoked vegetable before you've even done anything with it, it has this weird smokiness to it. Olives, like olive brine, very dirty martini kind of taste to it without the gin or the vodka. Much more savoury, even with the initial kind of sweet chocolatey arrival that it has. Finish is pretty subtle. The spice, as soon as it hits your tongue, it's there and it's present. But it begins to die away quite quickly. And you're left with this almost, how do I describe it? Like a mocha caramel coffee kind of thing. It's quite creamy with a little bit of spiciness running through it. One more taste, just for that finish. Yeah, the olivey thing is still there, all that pickle brine. Again, don't really get a rye thing with it. There's no mint or menthol. That kind of chocolatiness could be associated with maybe the barrel being toasted again. I was unsure if it was. But it's good, it's good quality wood. Thinking over my notes for this whiskey that I made a couple of days ago, it is an extremely different whiskey from what Ardbeg would normally do. And I know it's a special release, and I know it was made to commemorate a very important man like Mickey Head. But some of these flavour profiles can be found in Ardbeg 10, which is 45, 48 pounds a bottle. They can certainly be found in Ardbeg Ugadal, which is a cash strength, early teenage whiskey, from what I've chatted to Ardbeg reps about, and it's got a lot of sherry influence to it. That's 60-ish, maybe 70 pounds a bottle max. In the UK, I should say. And I feel like this for 143, it's different and it's interesting, but I just don't think it qualifies enough or does enough for that price tag to really be met, even with the commemorative thing. It's nice, it's drinkable, I will finish the rest of this glass and enjoy it, but I just don't think it's special enough for that price. If it was like an Ardbeg that had been, an Ugadal which had been matured in like these ridiculous wine casks like the Black was from last year, or the Drum with those rum cask influences, that's a bit more exciting, it's a bit more over there. I just don't really get it with this one. Maybe me and Mickey have different tastes, but yeah, I'm only going to give that like a 7 and a bit. Even with the, well, 7 and a bit, let's be specific, it's a 7.5. But I just think even though it's opened up a bit more, and the initial texture and the arrival of the whiskey is improved, my overall view is that compared to its cheaper alternatives, which are remarkably consistent, it's still not as exciting. And I didn't pay full price for this. I would be extremely disappointed if I did. Maybe it might open up even more over time, but yeah, maybe it's just a bee in my bonnet from seeing that price point and thinking, yeah, it's kind of not worth it, and I still agree. But yeah, that's the Ardbeg. By all means, put your views in the comments below. Some people are really liking this whiskey, and I can't blame you, because there are some good points to it, but it's not that good, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that's the Ardbeg. That's a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you all for coming back to us, and we'll see you all next week. Cheers.